This is South Africa, a country where one of the 7 wonders of the world resides. South Africa offers breathtaking scenery, beautiful blue oceans, gorgeous mountains, amazing wildlife creatures, and gigantic mansions viewing it all. But this is also South Africa, a side that not many people see. These tiny shacks are made of splintered wood or torn up cardboard and are collectively known as townships. The residents of these townships lived in cramped spaces and extremely unhygienic conditions, with no access to clean water or electricity. On one side of the street, we may see huge mansions with private gardens and tall fences, while on the other side of the street, we'll see the run-down shacks surrounded by litter. This is known as poverty. As I explained in my HCP paper, South Africa proved to be the most unequal country in the world due to apartheid's repercussions. Apartheid was a time where blacks and whites were segregated, emerging a racial hierarchy with whiteskins at the top and darkskins at the bottom. 55% of the total population is living below the poverty line, which is equivalent to $75 per month. 64% of which are blacks or Africans, and only 1% of which are whites. The top percent of the country owns 71% of the wealth, while the bottom 60% only owns 7% of the wealth. As we can see, even though the end to apartheid is supposed to resemble equality for all, it's almost impossible for the lower income households to pull themselves out from a sinkhole. The rich only get richer and the poor only get poorer. With high unemployment rates, people are pushed towards drug abuse, alcoholism, and violence that become the root causes to crimes such as robberies, murders, and sexual offenses. By acknowledging these factors and realizing how everything is correlated, perhaps the top percent in South Africa could take some action into helping the remaining 60% of the country. In my AP paper, I wish to further explore this topic and come up with possible solutions to this issue. There has been no real solutions to poverty so far, but South Africa is trying a new approach of implementing a minimum wage. The unemployment rate was 26.7% in the first quarter of 2018, taking into account only the people that have been looking for a job 4 weeks prior to the assessment, and the unemployment rate has only gone up since then. The national minimum wage was introduced this year and set to $1.58 per hour, but some fear that this could actually lead to a rise in unemployment since businesses will struggle to pay for their workers. The minimum wage means that 6.4 million South Africans will rise, which is directly beneficial to 47% of the workers. Another attempt that the government tried was to house black South Africans. The African National Congress built townships around major cities, which were settled close to the major centers of business. But with no money flowing into these government-owned lands, the townships soon became ghettos with dangerous buildings and poor education. A possible solution that I have is to lower public school tuition fees. The average public high school tuition is around 3,400 Rand, which is equivalent to around $2,400. However, by being a domestic worker, which accounts for 6.2% of the jobs in South Africa, the annual income is only 2,100 Rand. So, by looking at these numbers, there is no possible way that the lower class workers would be able to afford an education for their kids. My second solution is to create more jobs for the unemployed. Even with high unemployment rates, many government-owned businesses are still understaffed. In the Western Cape, which is a province in South Africa, 85% of police stations don't have enough workers. The Home Affairs Department, which services the national population regarding any legal paperwork, is also understaffed by 8,000 employees. If businesses hired the appropriate number of employees required, the unemployment rate would go down drastically, creating more job opportunities. In conclusion, fighting for a better education system and creating more job opportunities would help decrease poverty in South Africa, which I wish to explore more about in my AP paper. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this presentation has explored the issue of poverty as well as the importance of the correct solutions.